Good morning, and it must be Tuesday morning because you're here with us on the Kitchings Table. Welcome again to another episode. We are glad to be with you this morning and hope that everything is going well in your world and that today will be another great day for you. I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings. As always, joining me every Tuesday morning for the Kitchings Table is my co-host, Ronleen Kennedy. Ronleen, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Earl. How are you this morning? And I thank you for all that you're bringing to the kitchen's table this morning.
Well, I thank you, and I want to thank those viewers and listeners who are out there who are giving us their time to listen and or watch. Special shout out to those people up in the Pennsylvania area in the medical profession at a hospital. We're going to get that name, but I wanted to shout out to you guys this morning because I hear that you are faithful listeners and watchers of the show. So thank you so very much for checking us out. And hey, if we can provide you with any more content that can be of help to you, please let us know. We're always willing to help. Our topic for today, and this kind of hit me looking at some things on TV and noticing how the landscape in the world of electronic media, not specifically computers and cell phones and things of that nature, but the electronic media of radio, television, movies, and that industry has grown, not in huge numbers over the last maybe 20 years, but over the last century, definitely. So today, our topic is Black media moguls. Black media moguls. And we're going to dive into talking about some of the facts and some of the people who are making headway, who have made that path for others to follow, who are carving out their own segments of this major industry. And it's just phenomenal to know that there are some individuals, especially when we get into television and the movies, that have made some significant strides in making that industry fit them and what they're wanting to bring as far as content and the people who act on these television shows and or movies. But we're going to start off with radio and the fact that there are radio stations all across the country, whether you're in a rural area, whether you're in an urban area, or anywhere in between, you'll find a radio station. And once upon a time, radio was the means for getting entertainment and news. It evolved into television coming along, which evolved into cable. And the guy who probably had the most impact on cable was Ted Turner when he had the WTCG cable network, which was uh, Turner, the Turner Group, Turner Cable Group, and this was back in the mid '70s, late '70s. Cable wasn't really that popular, but he went on to grow that. He had a vision. He saw it from a different perspective. It turned into not only just a cable network, but CNN evolved from that, and he thought to have a 24-hour news station, and that's how CNN evolved. But in the radio business, in today's time, there are 48, just 48. I know you might be like, what? Uh, Radio stations and networks, but overall, there are 97 Black owned radio stations and organizations and stations listed throughout the country as of 2021. 117, then the NABOB, the National Association of Broadcasters, uh, indicated as of 2021 there were 220 Black owned radio stations, 117 FM, 103 AM. They comprise 28% of the revenue in the $1 million to $10 million range. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, and it probably isn't when we talk about the radio business. And that means that 72% of the black radio stations in America generate less than $1 million a year in revenue. Less than $1 million a year in revenue. So when you think of what all goes into having a radio station, staffing, equipment, maintenance. No, not the maintenance inside the building of cleaning it. No, the maintenance of the equipment, the maintenance of that radio tower, the maintenance of everything involved with making sure that that broadcast can go out each and every day. It requires some people to do some things. So when we talk about the fact that there aren't a lot of radio stations black owned, that says a lot. But a part of that has to do with the fact that many radio stations throughout the country were absorbed or bought out by major conglomerates. And when these conglomerates purchased these stations, uh, almost like a broom sweeping through a room, they swept them into their coffers and took them over, and that's what happened in large segments. So it's not just the black owned, but the black owned stations and owners who held out and held their ground and did not sell. Kudos to you for continuing to provide a great public service to your communities. And here's a breakdown of how the formats for these stations rank. Starting at the top, urban music, 78%. We have 78 uh, stations. Religion, 48 stations. Talk, I was surprised that we had talk, but talk, 9. News, 6. Sports, 4. Jazz, 4. Christian, 4. Um, Adult contemporary, and then it drops off significantly. There's one country station, if believe it or not, one black-owned country station. I wonder what state that's in. I hope it's in Tennessee because Tennessee is definitely known for some country. But there's some performers who are starting to gravitate to the country music genre, and more power to them. I mean, it's wide open. You can do whatever type of entertainment you feel that suits you. And those are some of the things that we need to understand that uh, in a country that has so much diversity, you don't have to fit into the norm. You can break out and be the abnorm and do your own thing. So it's one country station. Found out there was one rock station,
Mm.
and it doesn't necessarily mean that the music you hear are from black performers. It's just that someone owns a station and their format is that particular music genre. So whatever suits you or whatever fits the bill for what you want to do, so be it, because your communities uh, dictate sometimes exactly what people may want to listen to. So, Ronleen, that's a breakdown of our radio stations. Uh, 220 of them black owned, and they're not seeing a lot of revenue. However, they're keeping the doors open, keeping the lines open, and still providing a service. And we want to just make people aware of the fact that there are people out there doing what we're doing. And kudos to Miss Keela Thigpen for having a vision for having her own station and helping us to get started in this format. So she is one of that
Yes.
number of religious stations that we talked about. So that's where we are with the radio. So what did you think about that?
It's very interesting in this day and time. Everybody wanted to be heard when they first started out. They knew what it was to put their music on wax. I thought about what you said about the country station. I remembered I had a friend, and she said that she loved, her declaration was country music.
Okay.
And I asked her, I said, why you love country music for so much? She said, because it tells the story. She said, when you listen to the lyrics of a person's thoughts and you think about the things that you, she came through the 40s, when you think about the things that you have been through, you want people to know your story. And she said, it makes no difference who you are. People need to know your story. and she
Is this
said,
true?
and she said, there's no other way to do it but country, baby.
Oh, no, no other way.
No
Okay.
other way to do it but country. She said,
Well,
people need to.
ironic that country, as she indicated, tells the stories. That was something that Ray Charles brought about. That he loved country, and because it told the stories. But you know what else? What other genre tells stories?
What other genre tells the story?
The blues.
The blues.
Yeah.
That's what I was, that's what surprised me because she came through that era. Um, and I was thinking she was going to say the blues was right in that, but when she said no, the country, there was no other way to tell the story. And I'm like, well, I kind of like da 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 da.
Yeah. Uh, it's funny how the blues has that kind of one chord, a couple of chords that are so relatable to them. Dun 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 dun
Yes.
dun dun. So you can have a lot of fun with the blues. I don't think you can do it so much with country, but you can have so much fun with the blues and the lyrics because you can just make up things that sound like a story that are entertaining, but are true and factual. So the blues and the folks who have done the blues over the many years and the stories they have told, um, country blues, those two genres of music definitely are the storytelling genres that have given a lot of emphasis to people to get the word out. So kudos to both those genres and the people who have made music under those banners because they have been very well documented as to who they are and what they've done and how they've touched people. So that's going to do the radio portion. So now let's move on to the next portion that from radio came about television. And television has a very unique moniker because if you see it on TV, folks believe it as the absolute undisputable truth. You saw it on TV, it validates anything that you want to put out there. I saw it on TV, so it must be true. Well, we can't say that so much in these days and times, can we? Because some people abuse what the word truth really means. I mean, to the point where it's interesting that folks have turned truth into alternative facts.
Mm,
The alternative fact of the matter.
mm,
Um, so, but television has been around almost 100 years now. They're approaching that. I think they came out in the early 30s, uh, and it has grown. It became that other medium that folks started to really get into, and it expanded and grew. And before you knew it, every home had to have a television, uh, just like every home used to have a radio. And the difference between radio and television is you get a visual and an audio when you're watching television. And it has made a profound effect on our culture and our society. But when we talk about black owned TV because unlike radio, there isn't so much of a thing where you can have a black owned station. You have to have a network because the networks feed into the station. So every station is connected to some network, whether it be CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, is connected to a network which has a larger and broader base of how it connects. But there are 9 black owned TV networks. And I'm just going to ask you, can you think of one that you are aware of before I go down this list?
Yes. Bounce TV. I pray.
Bounce
I
TV.
pray I have that one right.
Yep, you got that one right. You
Okay.
got that one right. Bounce TV. So, Bounce TV is a 24/7 digital multicast network for Black people. At the top of the list is TV One, and TV One basically targets series, movies, documentaries, and concerts. Then there's Aspire TV. And for those of us who do not know and did not know, Aspire TV was launched by NBA legend Magic Johnson.
Oh, now you know what? I should be ashamed of myself. I should have been able to tell you too. Because I know that one hasn't
Oh,
changed yet.
now see,
Oh.
now I'm gonna put you out there and say, well, you should be telling me 3, because when I get to number 5 on this list, you're gonna be like, oh yeah. So Aspire TV is 3,
Oh,
Revolt TV.
BET, BET, BET. What was I thinking about?
Um, I didn't see
BET.
BET. I guess now it's BET now that it was purchased by I believe, Tyler Perry and Byron Allen. I believe they bought BET because BET had been sold.
Oh,
Robert Johnson had it and he sold it off.
and I
And
don't know why I didn't think about Tyler Perry in the beginning. Well, okay.
but Tyler Perry does not have he's not listed here for a TV network.
Okay. Okay. So
His is
I
listed
think
under
they come
something
out there
else.
studios anyway. So
Yeah,
okay.
right. Well, that's I hadn't gotten to that category yet. But
Okay. So
at
that
number 4 is Revolt, excuse me, Revolt TV, a music-oriented network founded by Sean Diddy Combs.
oh, okay.
It focuses on black musicians, Revolt TV. And then there's the OWN network. You should have probably said this one first.
That's what I said. I should have said that one first. That but
It was
she didn't come to mind.
She didn't come to mind.
Not
The
that
o-
first.
the Oprah Winfrey Network,
The Oprah Winfrey Network did not come first to my mind. Bounce did.
Bounce. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, so OWN features scripted and non-scripted lifestyling programs. Impact, the Impact Network, it deals with faith-based networks. Soul of the South, black-centric news, dramas, comedies. Black on Purpose Television, the BOP TV. It's a streaming network. And then there's Dream Network, Multicultural Arts and Entertainment Network. So those are the 9 black-owned TV networks. Now, when you add in the networks of this next gentleman, and I didn't, he wasn't on the list, but I wanted to make sure I put him in the conversation because his career path, his journey in media has been extraordinary. And back in 2015, a federal district court judge in California threw out media entrepreneur Byron Allen $20 billion lawsuit against Comcast and Time Warner. The suit accused the cable giants of discriminating against black-owned media companies by creating and reserving just a few spaces for their channels at the back of the bus.
Mm.
A
You
judge
know,
disagreed and said no, but
mm,
he sued them. Byron Allen did. He sued them. So, for those who may not be familiar with Byron Allen came on the scene probably somewhere at the age of 2021. And he started out wanting to be a comedian. Started out wanting to be a comedian. And once he got into the TV business uh, and found his way into the TV business, he has worked behind the scenes for many, many years and has grown his business to a point where we're familiar with his programming. We just didn't know it was him who was behind the scenes making this happen. And when I say that, I want to talk about the fact that if you've ever seen one of the uh, judicial shows where there was a judge on the TV, so um, that was under his banner. He owned the rights and produced all those shows that have the judges in the courtroom doing those shows. That
Mm.
that was Byron Allen behind the scenes. That's what he had. But he went on and purchased the Weather Channel. He owns the Weather Channel.
Okay.
Okay, now think about that. The Weather Channel is, yeah, but the Weather Channel has its place. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you're wanting to get in the game, the low hanging fruit is what you work on first to build things in your business. And that's what he did. And he's been growing, growing, growing ever since. So to this day, Byron Allen is the chairman and CEO of Allen Media Group Entertainment Studios in 1993. So that's been how many years has that been a thing that he's been doing? That's 30 years. Headquartered in LA with offices in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, and Charleston, South Carolina. The Allen Media Group owns 36 ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox network affiliate broadcast television stations in 21 U.S. markets and 12 24-hour high definition television networks serving nearly 220 million subscribers. Byron Allen.
Byron Allen, y'all.
Byron Allen.
The
Okay,
one to watch.
a media mogul. Okay, so here the networks or affiliates that he owns: the Weather Channel, Pets TV, Comedy TV, Recipe TV, Cars TV, ESTV, My Destination TV, Justice Central TV, The Griot, This TV, Local Now TV, and Pattern.
Wow. So this TV, Byron Allen.
Byron Allen.
Go ahead on, brother.
So he purchased the Griot, and interesting enough, Griot is American Television Network and website with news, opinion, entertainment, and video. The word griot comes from the West African term griot, which is oral historian and storyteller.
Mm.
Okay. But this young man or this gentleman has been around doing this for a very, 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 very long time. And I remember seeing him online one time where he was talking about his suit against the cable companies and how that Comcast and Time Warner did not want to open up those blocks for black entertainment via TV. They weren't doing it. So he sued. And like I said, $20 billion. Okay. Well, he may not have won that, but with all these other entities that he has, and he it also says he has license agreements and programming in South Africa, Australia, the Bahamas, Canada, New Zealand, the United Arab Emirates. He has a library of over 5,000 hours of own content across multiple genres. So he is a mover and shaker in the business. Yeah, he didn't make a big living at being a comedian when he first started, but he had a vision, and that vision came forth in what we now know as the Allen Media Group. And he partnered recently with Tyler Perry to work toward trying to buy BET. I'm not sure if they did that in a conjunction collaboration or not, but just the fact that they were working to do that. Uh, so when we talk about a true media mogul with 220 million subscribers. Wow, that's 220 million televisions.
Ah, mm,
Okay, that's a lot of folk, a lot of messaging going out, and a lot of people seeing what he's doing. So he is the founder, chairman, and chief, and the CEO. He's the everything to that group. So that was the television aspect, and I just wanted folks to know that this young man, this gentleman, rather, I won't call him a young man because he's long past young, being that young man, but he's a gentleman of uh, true designs on being a media mogul. And I'm sure as things continue to open up, where opportunities provide themselves, Byron Allen will make inroads. So that would be maybe number 10 on that list, because when it stopped at the Dream Network, it's like, well, what about this guy? We know Oprah. Now we know Oprah. And of course, Oprah broke down a lot of barriers to get her network. And I don't know if you've seen this clip where she talks about when she was doing television reporting, she was being underpaid. So when she went to management asked her, why do you need to get paid the same as your associate who was a white male? She's like, because they were like, you don't have family, you don't have a house, you don't have all these things. She said, yeah, but we do the same job. And they were
yeah.
like,
One
what
had nothing to do with
what does that have to do with anything?
the other. What's love got to do with it,
You
Earl?
know, no, not a thing. And so she went on a journey to create her own television show and made sure that everybody received fair and equitable pay. And then she started her own network, started doing her own movies. And between her and Spike Lee and Denzel Washington, they made some very impactful movies. And uh, so those are the people that we talk about in the television industry. Very, very powerful. And when BET came on the scene, I think everybody, if you had cable, sure that you tune into BET. It provided a lot of sports broadcasting and other entertainment at the time. Robert Bob Johnson started that. And once it got to a point where somebody else wanted it, and he sold it off for however many millions it was it was valued at. But I guess it's interesting how it's come back to being under black ownership.
Yes, thank you so much for just bringing that home for us. Listen, I want to give a shout out to our listeners this morning. I did find out the name of the hospital.
All right,
It's called Chester County, and Kathy Crudup said blessings to us. We thank God for the blessings. I tell you, we really do. Um, and I thank you, Earl, for just bringing things home the way you do. And our listeners, just keep listening, learn something, and then what? Take it home to do something, as our guy said, who's no longer with us. Get into some good trouble.
get into some good trouble. Congressman John Lewis said, "Get into some good
Good
trouble."
trouble. Yes,
Man,
yes, yes. Get into some
can you imagine telling your parents that back in the day? Well, you over here getting into trouble, but it was good trouble.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
don't care. It was trouble.
Yes, yes. And then she said, Kathy Crudup said, hey, overflow in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, we'll accept those blessings,
Yes,
and
so
thank you, Chester Hospital, for
yeah,
those employees that tune into the Kitchings Table. We appreciate you, and thank you, Kathy, for your comments and sentiments. And we will certainly look to be uh, endowed with those blessings. So spread the word over there in Chester County, Pennsylvania, and let other folks know that there are some alternatives, maybe to some topics or shows that talk about things, talk shows. I guess that's what we would be called, a talk show, not the news show. Uh, so anyway, we are at our halfway point here on the Kitchings Table, and we do thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., you can catch us, Earl Kitchings and Ronleen Kennedy, here on the Kitchings Table, where we provide news and information in all shapes and forms about what's going on in the world or and around the world and in your backyard and any place else we can find something that we feel is interesting or entertaining. So thank you so very much for joining us every Tuesday morning. And if you like what you hear and see, pass it along to someone else and drop us a line. Ronleen is waiting on you to send something on the chat or send something
However y'all
to
get
her.
it to me, they make sure we get it. I'm telling you. It's
Yeah,
like I
send.
didn't know we were located in so many places, but yes, send it
Well,
on to us.
that's good to know. That's
Like
good
us,
to know.
love us, whatever you have to do,
Yeah,
but make sure we understand how you feel about the programming that we bring into you. So go ahead.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So
Desperate County Hospital. Hey, I thank you. I didn't know.
thank you guys,
Yeah,
and in addition to that, thank you for your service. I
yeah.
know a lot of times we say that to the military folks, but for you first responders and people in our hospitals, especially during the COVID time, thank you for your service and your commitment because I'm sure you pulled some long hours during that time and had a lot of sad situations to happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all you've done, not only in Chester Hospital, but every hospital around the country. Thank you to all the nurses, the volunteers, the doctors, and everyone else. The folks down there in the kitchens who have to cook all that food and make sure folks are eating. Uh, every place else, thank you so very much for your service during these difficult times. But we're not out of the woods yet. And just know that COVID is still alive and well. And as I've shared with folks before, you can kill bacteria, but you can't kill a virus. So as long as there's COVID as a virus, it will always be around, maybe just not in the strong forms, but please understand that it will be around. So anyway, Ronley, going back to our show today, our topic today is Black media moguls, and we just got through telling you about one of the top ones. But now we're going to delve into the movie industry, and we went from 220 radio stations to 9 networks. Now we're down to 5 Black-owned production companies. Now, understand how these titles are being formulated. Radio stations, TV networks. I didn't say television stations. I said TV networks. And as I shared with you about Byron Allen, he owns 36 affiliates of those networks. Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC. Those are the networks. But now we move to the 5 Black-owned production companies, and these companies are making headway. First, at the top would be Harpo Productions. Now, Ron Lee, share with our listeners and viewers how Harpo, the name Harpo, became the name of this production company. If you know, if not, no problem. And if you saw the movie The Color Purple, you knew that Harpo was one of the characters. But how did that name Harpo come about? Do you know?
Yes. Well, I'll put it in my version. Oprah Winfrey. She spelled her name backwards and came up with Harpo.
There we go. And
Brilliant.
Harpo was in that movie.
Yes.
Harpo was in that movie. And she was married to Harpo in that movie in The Color Purple. So, but yeah, Harpo spelled backwards is Oprah, and she's responsible for 7 television programs: the Oprah Winfrey Show, Dr. Phil, Rachel Ray. Um, she has well been on the cutting edge of the media production, movies and television, and her magazine. So she has, gone full circle. She touches it all. So Harpo Productions is one. Spring Hill Entertainment. Are you familiar with Spring Hill Entertainment?
No,
You're
not.
not? Okay. Spring Hill Entertainment is owned. by
Oh,
LeBron James.
okay. I was going to say, don't tell me the Sugar Hill Gang.
No, but uh, James and Maverick Carter created Spring Hill Entertainment, and they focus on projects in the areas of television and film. So that's Spring Hill. Then there's Monkey Paw Productions. Monkey Paw. I bet you like you probably wouldn't figure this one out, but this gentleman has come on the scene starting in 2012 with his production company, and that's Jordan Peele of
Mm,
the comedy duo Key and Peele.
okay.
If you've ever seen any, watched their shows and know how they took that duo and basically went to a whole nother level. So when Jordan Peele started doing films, Get Out was one of the films, The Twilight Zone, and then uh, he's got a couple of others that are coming out. Uh, Us was another film that came out of his production studios. So that's that one. And then there's Array. And Array is a company that's run by female filmmaker Ava DuVernay.
Mm,
Ava DuVernay. And she is a recipient of Emmy Awards, uh, NAACP Image Awards, BAFTA Film Awards, been a nominee for the Academy Awards and the Golden Globe Awards, Sundance Film Awards. Her one film, Middle of Nowhere. Uh, she worked in the movie Selma. So uh, she worked with Oprah Network to do Queen Sugar, When They See Us, Colin in Black and White about Colin Kaepernick, the Central Park jogger case. So she is kind of that quiet behind the scenes power broker in the media industry that is, doing her thing. And then last but not least, from the stage to film to television to a major studio, Mr. Tyler Perry.
mm,
And when we talk about a rags to riches story, that's Tyler Perry. And having lived in Atlanta and knowing that there were some black uh, theatrical companies there that were, you could go see their plays on stage, but they weren't popular, I guess, and you had to be into wanting to see those plays. But that's where he cut his path with the one character, Mud Deer, and from that he took that character and grew it into many, many plays. And from there, once he was able to make a film, and Diary of a Mad Black Woman was the first film he produced. From there, he spun it into all these Mud Deer feature movies, and the rest is history. And he stayed in Atlanta, purchasing the old Delta Airlines um, buildings that were located near Greenbrier Mall in Southwest Atlanta. And from there, he purchased the old Fort McPherson, a government station, and went on to create his studios. And he continues to grow his studio and continues to make things happen. So, shed a little bit more light on Tyler if you got some, Ronleen.
listen, I remember my first play that I went to. One of my girlfriends, she said, I am tired of just coming to work, going home, going to Bible study, going to church, and that's all our lives consist of. She said, we're doing something different today. And I asked her, was like, what? What are we doing? And so she showed me the two tickets to one of the Tyler Perry plays. And I tell you, that day, that changed how I looked at things. Um, the things that I wanted to put on my bucket list in that moment, just to see that man do the things that he did, reminding me of Flip Wilson from back in the day, you know. And so um, I thought about it in the sense that I did. It's like entertainment. Our people are on stage, putting those scenes together, taking them down and creating something else. And it's all about creativity, Earl.
Well, he is a very creative individual. And again, he has just continued to forge a path in the film industry. And, when you can have your own studio set and everything that you film and everything you do are in your own buildings, and you're not going to Hollywood to do some things, everything is right there in house. It makes a big difference. Some of the more noticeable films that he's done, Coming to America, which was the second Eddie Murphy film about coming to America. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Blade is coming out in 2025, which I guess is a remake of the Wesley Snipes movie. But Tyler Perry has become a major player. And I looked up the topic or the title film distribution, because you make films and then you have to have them distributed. So, and when you think about movie theaters throughout the country, how many movie theaters there are, these films have to be reproduced, copied, and then sent out. And film distribution is the process of making a movie available for viewing by an audience. And this is the task of the film distributor, and they must determine the marketing and release strategy for how this film is going to get out into the public and be seen by people. And sometimes when movies come out, they're seen in certain movie theaters or in certain cities, and that has to come from film distribution and the distributors. And Tyler Perry films are now distributed by Paramount Pictures and Netflix. So he is on the cutting edge of making sure that those things are happening in that industry for him. But I would say that Tyler Perry has grown his business into a mega business in the film industry and the movie industry. So kudos to Tyler for doing that. And now we get to the last media entity that is probably had the pleasure of being where we get a lot of our entertainment, and that's the record industry. The record industry. And there are 12 black owned record labels. 12 black owned record labels. And of course, when we talk about black records, of course, the first name that comes to mind would be who?
You got me on that one.
Record labels?
Yes, you got me on that one.
I guess I guess you never danced to the Supremes and Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson and the Temptations and
Yes,
Motown.
but back
Motown.
yeah, okay, Motown. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
Motown.
Quincy Jones. Oh my goodness. Okay.
How you get Quincy Jones into Motown?
Cause that's what you made me think of.
Oh, okay. Motown Records, Barry Gordy, 1959 is probably the one record company that we are all familiar with, starting out up in Detroit. Motown, they created a lot of music. Motown is followed by Philadelphia International Records. They came out in 1971. They were founded by Keith Gamble and Leon Huff, and some of the groups that you would know of from their stable: the OJs,
Okay.
the Stylistics, Sister Sledge. They had a lot of groups that, Teddy Pendergrass spun off from Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, McFadden and Whitehead, the Jones Girls, Billy Paul, those are some of the groups from Philadelphia International Records. Their musical band was a group known as MFSB, Mothers, Fathers, Sisters, Brothers. MFSB was the band that played all the background music for Philadelphia International. Then in 1983, Def Jam Records, founded by Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin, Def Jam Records, and they had the Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, Sugar. Now, when I get to the Sugar Hill group, that's interesting because in 1979, Sylvia Robinson came out and founded the Sugar Hill Records, and Sylvia Robinson made one hit that at the time was kind of unique. She made Pillow Talk, but then her and her husband created this record label, Sugar Hill Records, and then her son Joey chose the instrumental break to the group Chic's Good Time as the basis for Rapper's Delight.
Right.
Rapper's Delight.
Yep, hop, the hippie to the
Hippie hippie
hip.
hop.
Yep, yep. Hop
Yep.
it, don't stop for rocking.
Yep. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Melly Mel, all that came out of Sugar Hill Records, all from Sylvia Robinson. Then we had the Black Swan Records, and they were founded in 1921 by Harry Pace. They were the first black-owned record company in America, and they were founded in Harlem. And they had whomever they had back in those days, the Queen of Soul, Queen of Hip Hop, all these kind of people spun off from that. But Ethel Waters and Bessie Smith uh, were dubbed the Queen of the Blues, and they were on Black Swan Records, Harry Pace, 1921. So that was the fifth major group. And then we had VJ Records, Vivian Carter and James Bracken in 1953. So they came out before Barry Gordy. VJ Records, and again, a husband and wife team founded this. Excuse me. So they had some groups: Jerry Butler, Gladys Knight and the Pips, John Lee Hooker, the Dells, the Staple Singers were part of their group before they split up. In 1991, Cash Money Records by Brian Birdman Williams and Ronald Slim Williams. They came on the scene, and I think that's when we start seeing a lot of the maybe hip hop come on the scene with record labels. Lil Wayne, some of the names attached to them, Nicki Minaj, groups like that. Drake kind of took off from them. And then the next six were Bad Boy Records, founded by Sean Combs, P. Diddy or Diddy. Ruthless Records, founded by Eric Easy Wright and Jerry Heller in 86. LaFace Records, founded by L.A. Reid and Babyface in 89. Solar Records, founded by Dick Griffey and Don Cornelius in 1975. They had a strong run. Don Cornelius with the Soul Train. Taboo, founded by Clarence Avant in 1975. They had some strong impacts on their record labels back in the day. But to cap all this off, I had to go and give you the husband and wife team, because I shared in that part about radio a few teams, but in 2023, that husband and wife team are known as Jay Z and
And
Beyonce.
Beyonce. Okay.
Okay, Jay Z and Beyonce, and Jay Z has become one of the most phenomenal entertainment production companies. He and Beyonce, uh, you've ever seen. I mean, they have just grown in leaps and bounds as what they've done. And Beyonce founded Parkwood Entertainment, which is an American management production entertainment and record label, Parkwood. And after looking at something on the news last night, her current tour features her daughter, Blue Ivy, who's only 11 years old, but you can't tell that's an 11-year-old on stage performing with mom. So they're doing some great things on stage to put her out there. Beyonce's first film was called Cadillac Records, but her husband, Jay Z, has 7 different businesses: Rockefeller Records, He has stakes in Uber, Rock Nation, uh, a platform for helping startup companies, Rockaware, clothing company, Top Shelf Alcohol, and Top Shelf Alcohol did $310 million in sales. And then there's Title, another business entity which deals with Spotify and streaming, and then investment in Canada. So I'm sorry, not Sean, but Jay Z and Beyonce are truly the Renaissance husband and wife duo team that are making strong headways in this business and are truly media moguls of 2023. I would have to put them at the top of the list, and everyone else would kind of fall behind them from the record industry genre that we're talking about today when we talk about media moguls. So
Mm.
that's what I got for everybody today, Ronleen.
Yes, I thank you for bringing this because regardless of what the genres are or whatever, these people is saying Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, and the rest of them are right behind them with Jay
Right,
Z, Beyonce. But here's the thing: people have jobs,
right,
can pay
right,
their bills,
right, right.
so and gives them an opportunity to use their creativity to be seen, to be heard, and hopefully one day understood.
Well, I'm glad you said that about the jobs because when you said that, the first thing I thought about was FUBU, and not so much for the clothing company, but just the fact that for us and by us, when you all the entities I've spoken about today are all black owned and operated. So when we talk about Parkwood Entertainment and the companies Jay Z owns, um, like you said, a lot of jobs for people. Tyler Perry, with all that entertainment going on at the studios, a lot of jobs for people, technical jobs and things of that nature. So, uh, thank you, media moguls, for doing what you do today. Thank you, media moguls, for what you did yesterday. Um, Thank you to a Barry Gordy who kind of created a larger spectrum of the record industry. He and the gentleman from Leon Huff and Kenny Gamble with Philadelphia International Records, I put them right there together because they created a lot of music and continue to create music. So thank you all to these media moguls. And thank you for joining us today here on the Kitchings Table. That's going to do it for us today. We hope you've enjoyed it. I'm your host, Earl Kitchings. Joining me, my co-host, Ron Lee Kennedy. We'd like to thank you. And as always, we take you away by saying, do something good for someone else. Until next Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on the Kitchings Table, have a great week.